Where was the best plot twist in film history? Was it in Gone Girl, Planet of the Apes, The Usual Suspects, Psycho, or maybe Shutter Island? I think Fight Club has the best plot twist. Even 20 years later, people still don't realize what it was. People are so fixated on the importance of Fight Club that they don't pay attention to the story. Everyone is so focused on the philosophical issues that they don't even notice. Tyler Durden and Marla Singer are fictional characters, part of a much deeper plot twist that turns the whole film on its head. A twist that everyone missed. It's gonna be interesting and informative. This is the Fade-In channel. Let's go! Let's start with what Fight Club is about. A man who struggles to find meaning in the monotony of his ordinary life, and who starts attending support groups for the terminally ill to help him cope with insomnia. One day, he meets a charismatic soap maker who convinces him to embrace his masculinity by rejecting the comforts and achievements of modern society. After his apartment mysteriously explodes, he embarks on a journey of self-discovery, founding Fight Club and becoming an urban terrorist. He encourages other men to join him in redefining what it means to be a man in modern society. However, he nearly loses his sanity when he discovers that his best friend and role model, Tyler Durden, never existed and was merely a figment of his imagination. Actually, the film Fight Club is about a man who is diagnosed with testicular cancer. To come to terms with the idea of possibly having it removed, his mind malfunctions and creates two conflicting personas, the masculine Tyler and the feminine Marla. Tyler represents the part of him that denies reality. Tyler embodies over-masculinity, while Marla represents the harbinger of impending loss and a less masculine lifestyle. The twist is not that Tyler is imaginary, it is that Marla, Bob, Fight Club, Project Mayhem, and even the Pepper Street house itself exist only in Jack's imagination. Oh, and I'm going to call him Jake because I don't want to keep referring to him as the narrator, even though his real name is Tyler Durden. That's right, that's the character's real name. Just think, when Edward Norton discovers that Brad Pitt is imaginary, we see airline tickets in the name of Tyler Durden. You can't just walk up to check in with a ticket in any name you want. You need an ID to get a boarding pass. So why would his employer give him a ticket in someone else's name? Even if he could pick any name, he wouldn't have an ID for it. Jack's name is never called, and he's recorded as the narrator everywhere, because everything that happens on screen is a story he's telling. I'll prove it's all in his head. Just think of the first words we hear from Jack.
People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden.
3 minutes. Accomplished.
And suddenly, I realized that all of this, the gun, the bombs, the revolution, has got something to do with a girl named Marla Singer.
First, the second parts are both false. The only person who asks him about Tyler is Bob, and Marla has no connection to the project. Before Tyler Durden is introduced, 4 images appear. These images reveal moments when Jack is imagining something. The first is at Jack's workplace when he talks about insomnia. The second is after he meets Marla at the exit of the support group moment. The third is immediately after he meets Bob. The last is in the doctor's office. Another visual cue indicating that what is happening is a figment of Jack's imagination is the camera slowly zooming in on his face in the center of the frame. This technique is used when Jack imagines a plane crash, when he looks at Tyler in Fight Club, and when Tyler calls him from a payphone. Even when Jack first talks to the doctor, Tyler appears when Jack mentions his insomnia. The doctor refuses to prescribe sleeping pills and suggests that Jack attend a support group for the terminally ill to see people who are truly suffering. The doctor had no reason not to prescribe sleeping pills, so it's strange that he advises Jack to visit a support group instead. This scene seems strange because Jack isn't actually complaining about insomnia. He's asking for pills to alleviate his anxiety about cancer. I'll come back to this later. But for now, consider that Jack and Marla are the same person. That's why there's Xanax on our nightstand, the same medication Jack asked his doctor for. Jack suffers from dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder. He also has schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. But the multiple personality disorder is mainly responsible for his hallucinations. This disorder most often occurs in the context of serious psychological trauma or prolonged anxiety. However, nothing in Jack's life could have caused such trauma. Cancer is the only plausible cause of his condition. Although it is not mentioned directly, cancer is referenced often enough in the narrative to be significant. since the main theme of the film is how Jack escapes reality by creating his own world. It's easy to understand what's really going on.
See the guys with testicular cancer. That's pain.
I wish I could return the favor.
There's not a lot of breast cancer in the men in my family.
I get cancer, I kill Jack.
This explains why Marla and Tyler smoke so much. They are both Jack's alter egos, created to help him, and they smoke because he constantly thinks about cancer. We see Tyler again right before meeting Bob, and Bob is just another character created by Jake to help him come to terms with himself. Noticing that no one notices him, as if he didn't really exist at all, Bob is simply a collection of everything Jake saw in his everyday life.
Bob had been a champion bodybuilder. You know that chest expansion program you see on late night TV? That was his idea.
The father must have been huge. You see where the fat's burned to the seat, the polyester shirt?
It's me, Bob.
But the most important proof that Bob was fictional too is his demise. He was hidden ahead and taken to the house on Pepper Street by the guys from the project. But how could they drag his body away when they were being chased and one of them was wounded in the leg and unable to walk unaided? It is also notable that both Bob and Tyler died in the same way. Two men who existed only in Jack's mind were hit in the head. The fight clubs in different cities did not know about each other's existence, and Project Mayhem only existed in the city where Jack lived. So why on earth were those guys shouting his name? How did they even find out about his fate?
His name is Robert Paulson. It isn't.
They found out about him because he only exists in Jack's imagination. In one scene, Jack walks through an empty bar, and the next second, the bartender magically appears. Where did he come from? There is no door behind the bar, and with his neck injury, he couldn't have moved quickly. The bar is definitely closed. The lights are off, the chairs are stacked up, and there are no customers. So why are there so many staff inside? Once again, all of the staff in this scene are just another one of Jack's illusions, standing in front of an empty bar and talking to thin air. The Mayhem Project and Fight Club are just figments of Jack's imagination. His broken mind is trying so desperately to survive that he has invented them himself. All the people around him are nothing more than products of Jack's subconscious, creating more and more alternative personalities to support Tyler's statements. It's similar to the film Inception, in which the subconscious manifests as a multitude of people who behave in ways that protect the human mind from the unreality of the situation. Why would this guy wait on the porch for 3 days without knowing how long it would take? 3 days is a long time, and I doubt they quit their jobs just to join the project. I don't know what they did before, but I'm sure they had low-paying jobs that they couldn't just walk away from for 3 days. It also makes no sense that all the office workers in the city are in fight clubs. Even detectives are involved in the project, and their work is far from meaningless or routine. Let's take a look at how Fight Club originated. Jack was fighting with an imaginary friend in a car park when several people saw them and asked if they could join in. While we see a fight with Tyler, the characters themselves see a man hitting himself. So, what interested these individuals? Why did they want to try it? People see meaning in Tyler and follow him, but he's not real. So who can Jack inspire and lead himself? Tyler is handsome, brutal, and rebellious. He embodies Jack's idea of what a real man should look like and how he should behave. However, Tyler only sees Jack. This is why people follow him. Jack imagines himself to be an MMA fighter. So why does he need to invent an army of fighters to support this fantasy? The whole point of creating Tyler is so that Jack can escape reality. The only way he can raise his own importance is by inventing people who will follow him. We first meet Tyler when Jack mentions his insomnia. The large amount of Starbucks coffee in this scene is also striking. While one might initially think this is just subtle product placement or a visual commentary criticizing consumerism, the coffee actually serves as a clue that Marla is as unreal as Tyler. Jack himself doesn't drink coffee, but Marla is constantly consuming it, and even says that it's one of the reasons she attends the support group.
Oh God, why are you doing this?
It's cheaper than a movie and there's free coffee.
If we view coffee as a commentary on consumerism, or even just as a form of product placement, why does Marla drink regular coffee instead of Starbucks? What purpose does focusing on regular coffee serve? She could easily have come to the support group meeting with a Starbucks cup, but she didn't. The significance of the coffee is to show us that Jack doesn't have insomnia. He simply leads a double life. Marla drinks coffee for him so that he can stay up all night without sleep, After the support group meeting, he sleeps because he is himself again and does not drink coffee as Marla all night. That is why his insomnia returns when Marla appears in his life. Yes, she is fictional, and he sees her from a third-person perspective, but in reality, Jack does everything Marla does. Just as in the case of Tyler in the Fight Club, when we learn that Tyler is fictional, we must think that Jack actually worked at all the jobs we were told about. But if he worked from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at his first job, took on side jobs, and also sold soap, he would have clearly noticed the increase in his bank account, which would have raised questions and revealed Tyler's unreality even before the film began. So all these jobs are as fictional as Tyler himself. In a promotional video for the hotel restaurant where Jack is staying, we even see a man who looks like him. He gave Jack the idea for Tyler's story, so we might think Jack lived at night as Tyler. In fact, however, he lived at night as Marla. Jack first tried on the role of Tyler after meeting him on the plane. We next see Tyler when Jack first tries to talk to Marla. Although she is a figment of Jack's imagination, she is different from Bob and the other Fight Club members because Jack tries on her role in the same way as he did with Tyler. There are 3 ways in which Tyler and Jack interact. Sometimes, Jack presents Tyler as a friend with whom he socializes, for example, at the house on Pepper Street. In another instance, Jack becomes Tyler unwittingly, as in the episode involving flights across the country to establish other fight clubs. Finally, Jack plays Tyler as if observing from the outside, as in the scene where Tyler discusses Project Mayhem in Fight Club. Jack interacts with Marla in the same way. Sometimes he thinks he is talking to her on the phone or in the kitchen after the bedroom scene with Marla and Tyler. Sometimes he plays her without knowing it, as in the hotel scene. And sometimes he becomes her, imagining that he is watching everything from the outside, as in a support group. You could argue that the people in the support group are actually responding to Marla, but can we really believe that? If we see a guy literally touching Tyler as he walks by on the bus, we never see other people interacting with Marla, and even when she's in a crowd, no one addresses her directly. She wanders around like a ghost, walks along a busy road, steals food from a van, and no one says anything to her. Even when she shows up at the men's support group with a cigarette in her mouth, no one says anything to her. Marla is fictional. Jack created her because she reflects his worldview in anticipation of the loss of his ball and masculinity. Everyone remembers how Tyler made soap with fat stolen from a liposuction clinic. In the scene where they steal the fat, Jack and Tyler hide behind a container of infected human waste. When Jack takes Marla away to save her from an overdose, she yells at the paramedics that the woman in that room is infected human waste. She uses this term because Jack and Tyler know it. What are the odds that if Marla were real, she would use those exact words to describe herself? Jack and Tyler literally use infected human waste to make soap. Therefore, Jack, Tyler, and Marla must be the same person. Essentially, it's Jack walking down the hallway talking about Marla. That's why Tyler wears rubber gloves when working with the soap and during the bedroom scene with Marla. Remember how Tyler said,
Self-improvement is masturbation. Now self-destruction.
You might think this justifies the creation of Fight Club or the destruction of the city, but it's actually proof that Marla is fictional. There are several bedroom scenes between Tyler and Marla in the film, and they are always shot in slow motion with a strange style. One might assume this is how Jack remembers his time as Tyler, but he remembers everything else in the most ordinary way. What is Jack usually doing during these scenes? He reads books or exercises. So if self-improvement is self-gratification, and Tyler, Marla, and Jack are one person, then in reality, Jack is self-gratification during the bedroom scenes. That's why the bedroom scenes are filmed the way they are. They're Jack's bedroom scenes with his alter ego. Remember when Jack and Tyler left the bar and Jack said he needed to find a hotel room? Even though we saw him follow Tyler down Pepper Street, he actually went to the hotel because Pepper Street doesn't exist. Pepper Street is a street that will only be built. It only exists on paper. Jack meets Tyler on the plane and gives him a business card for the Pepper Street Soap Company. The company belongs to a man who lives on Pepper Street. However, Tyler is not a real person who can live anywhere. The business card also exists only in Jack's imagination. How could Jack know about Pepper Street if he had never been there? The house on Pepper Street isn't a real place either. It's merely Jack's refuge. Remember when he was asked at one of the meetings to imagine a safe place where he could find his animal powers? Jack imagined an icy cave with the talking penguin. That was his refuge before he came up with the house on Pepper Street. It's not a real place. In fact, Jack lived in the hotel where he thought Marla lived. Yes, it's a hotel, not a rented apartment. There's a battle going on between Tyler and Marla for Jack's mind. That's why Tyler tells him that a woman won't solve his problems.
I'm wondering if another woman is really the answer we need.
He tries to convince Jack that hypermasculinity is the best way to deal with his cancer, while Marla slowly takes over his mental space.
She invaded my support groups, now she'd invaded my home.
That's why Jack disapproves of Marla spending so much time on Pepper Street, and why Marla and Tyler can't be in the same room with Jack. Jack needs separate places for each alter ego because they fight for his mind, and he can't interact with them at the same time since they immediately expose each other. Isn't it strange that Marla never called Jack by name, even though we know she thinks his name is Tyler? She never said, "See you later, Tyler," or "Why are you tormenting me, Tyler?" She doesn't reveal Tyler because Jack's mind doesn't want to. He doesn't notice until he is ready for the truth and asks her himself. The point is that if you accept one of these theories, then you must accept them all. If Bob isn't real, then neither are the guys from Project Mayhem because they constantly interact with each other. If the house on Pepper Street isn't real, then neither is Project Mayhem, nor is Marla, because they're constantly present in the house. Everything is intertwined. Even a simple detail like the phones in the house on Pepper Street suggests that the house and Marla don't actually exist. When Jack first calls Tyler, he calls him back on a payphone that doesn't accept incoming calls. It is now clear that the call never happened because Tyler is fictional, and the phone Jack called from did not exist. When Jack and Marla exchange numbers, he writes his on the back of a business card, and she writes hers on his hand. After the apartment explosion, however, he finds her number written on a small piece of paper. I understand that this was 1999, before mobile phones became widespread, so writing numbers down was the only way to save them, but the handwriting looks like a woman's. Also, why would Jack write her number down on a separate piece of paper? Besides, Marla lives in a hotel, not an apartment, so where does she get a personal phone number? Marla is fictional, her phone number is fictional, and the phone in the house on Pepper Street is also fictional. You may think that Jack was already living in the house on Pepper Street as Tyler before they met on the plane, since there is a working telephone line in the house. However, I doubt that the telephone company would have connected an abandoned house. Fight Club is widely considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. Although many people previously found it relevant, it is even more significant today. Rather than being about how men regain their masculinity, it is actually about how they lose it. By the end of the story, Jack is left without trousers, a symbol of masculinity. And earlier, we see Marla steal jeans from the washing machine, sell them, and then seize Jack by the groin to assert her dominance. This scene shows how she is depriving him of his masculinity, which is why Jack and Marla appear almost identical in the final scene. Jack created Bob and Tyler to demonstrate his loss of masculinity, then eliminated them to choose Marla as his main persona. Although Tyler is supposed to embody brotherhood, masculinity, and rebellion, he is a poor example of these qualities because everything he does looks juvenile and immature. He is the epitome of a man-child who throws tantrums, a man who doesn't want to grow up. Instead of finding a worthwhile goal, he punches pieces off the board because he doesn't like a rule. Peeing in soup and defacing private property achieves nothing. Everything Tyler and Jack do is counterproductive and emotionally immature. Men today have become immature and counterproductive. All the instincts and habits developed over hundreds of years have suddenly disappeared. They feel domesticated and abandoned in modern society. However, courage is the ability to channel frustration into becoming more productive, rather than giving in to hedonistic desires. So, friends, we have uncovered Fight Club's biggest secret. All this time, we have been watching the hallucinations of a cancer patient, not a story about courage. Tyler, Marla, and the entire club are just an escape from a terrible reality. I hope that you will now look at this masterpiece with completely different eyes. Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which film you would like us to analyze next.